thought Tokyo is the most interesting city. So I think this is really nice in Japan, the best place on earth. We have one of the 7 world wonders. I'm from Jordan. I live in Tokyo. I actually live in an interesting place, Odaiba. Not many people live there, so it's kind of special.
Do you work here or are you a student?
I'm a student right now, second year master student.
What things in Japan made you surprised?
Oh, so many things. When I came to Japan, it was 2021. COVID was still very, very strict. Everyone was wearing a mask everywhere, even in the workplace. And at the same time, in my country in Jordan, people stopped wearing masks. So that was one of the surprising things. Second surprising thing was in Tokyo. I feel like people, it's very nice. They respect your personal space and they respect how much noise you make. They don't eat close to you, which I think it's nice when you want your personal space. But at the same time, this can be cold. You feel like people don't want to be close to you. It's both good or bad. Other things that surprised me in Japan, I was very surprised of how hard is it to find transportation at night after last train. There's only taxis. For some reason, taxis are very, very expensive in Tokyo. Maybe the most expensive city for taxis. In Jordan, it's very common to take taxis. It's very easy to go home any hour of the day. Not that expensive. But in Japan, a train and a taxi is way too different in price. Also in Jordan, it's very common to use your own car. So in Jordan, I have my own car. Here, it's hard to have a car in Tokyo, I think. Also, one thing about like culture, for example, I play a lot of sports. And in my country, when we play sports, you just gather and you just play. No one says anything. In Japan, every time you need to play, they have to tell you the rules and make sure everyone knows the safety rules, all the details. So no one goes and play without knowing what's going on. So I think this is really nice in Japan. These are some of the things I find surprising.
Where in Japan have you ever traveled?
I traveled to a few cities: Nagano, Sendai, Aomori, and Iwate, Okinawa.
You said people in Tokyo kind of cold. What do you think about the other cities?
I think in the south, in Okinawa, people were much more relaxed. No one's wearing a suit. No one is running to catch a train or something. Everyone is just enjoying life. They're more welcoming or more smiling, I think. I feel like in the south it was much warmer. In the north, something interesting that never happens in Tokyo when I was with my friends. They were European, so we looked like foreigners. And when we walked beside the elementary school, a lot of kids were running after us and they wanted to say hello and asked us where you are from and what do you do here. In Tokyo, I never had kids ask me what do I do. So I think also in the north, people can be more curious or welcoming. I don't think Tokyo is colder, but I think people are just more busy. They have a lot to do. For Japanese people, the impression, I'll tell you the impression we have as Jordanians. I think when you say the word Japan in my country, everyone will think the best place on earth. Japanese people are the smartest, very disciplined, very hardworking, considerate. Like I mentioned about like the noise, the personal space, everything is clean in Tokyo. Japan's the only country in the world with no trash cans, but it's very, very clean. So I think there is a lot of good points people see when they have never lived in Japan. But when you live here and you interact more and more with people, you start to understand that it is at some extent positive, but also sometimes not exactly negative. But for example, in Jordan, or Arabs are very expressive. We like to show emotions. So when we like someone, we say it. When we don't like something, we say it. We generally like to have fun, be more casual. If I'm talking too formally to someone, it means we're not close. But in Japan, for example, even if you're close to someone, even if you're in the same workplace, you have to use, for example, keigo. You have to be very, very formal. You must attend to details like, if there is someone older, I have to let them do this. If someone younger, I have to do that. In a way, it's good, but it's too much to think about. Where in my country, we never think about this thing. Like, we're respectful, but even for older people, like even my boss at work, sometimes I can call them by their first name. So it's very, very casual.
Yeah. You feel like there are some barriers between people in Japan?
I think this is one of the major cultural differences. Japanese people always like to let other people be comfortable. They sometimes don't share how they feel. So it's also very hard for me to know, does this person like me? Does they not like me? Do they want to go out with me? They don't want to go out with me? It's kind of hard to tell. Even with my supervisor, for example, sometimes I actually don't know if he's happy or not about my work. So sometimes it's very hard to know these things.
What do you think is the character of Jordanian people?
I think Jordanian people are very dynamic, very expressive, respectful as well. We like to enjoy company of people. So Jordan houses are generally bigger, and we tend to invite everyone to our houses. So even if I meet a stranger, even if I meet friends of friends, and it's my first time meeting them, I would say, oh yes, please come to my house. Let's have a party together. Let's go out together. You invite everyone. It's very welcoming. It could be good or bad, it depends on the context, but people are very warm. So the first impression is, oh, I have someone, I need to welcome them a lot. In Japan, it could be true, but I feel like in places like Tokyo, people are much more reserved. If you don't know someone very closely, you almost never invite them to your house, or you don't get too close to people on the first meeting or the first time you see them. So I think this is one cultural difference.
Is there any common thing between your country and Japan?
Oh yes, a lot of things are in common. Between Jordan and Japan, we share some values, especially from a religious perspective. Although in Japan, religion is not a big symbol, but with Buddhism or Shinto and these kind of things, we have the respect towards God, the respect towards certain manners, like when we have food, how we appreciate the food. In Japan, you would say itadakimasu, and it's very similar to the culture in Jordan or Arabic countries. When we start with the food, we would say Bismillah, do the prayer. In Arabic countries or in Islam, you have to wash your hands, you have a certain etiquette. It's the same in a temple or in a shrine. You have to walk in a certain way, you have to clap in a certain way and do this etiquette. So I think the respect towards religion, and which makes you also a good person or have the values. For example, in Japan, very low crime rate, honesty is very appreciated, people can be good from the inside. You don't need a supervisor to tell you, oh, you have to be that or not hurt people and things like that. I think this is similar to the culture in my country.
Do you think Japanese people are religious? Because I don't think Japanese people are aware of religion.
I think they don't practice the certainty of religion, but I feel they have the respect. Like when you go to the shrine, you don't see anyone wearing revealing clothes, you don't see anyone cutting in line, you don't see these kind of things. So they have this respect. And I think it's like when you pray for something, you have the different charms, and I understand that people don't practice it over belief, but I feel like deep down, or for some people, even though they don't believe it as the way other people would believe in Christianity or in Islam, they can respect it or still practice it. So I think that's the interesting part.
What is something about your country you are proud of?
Something interesting about Jordan, political-wise, we have a king and we have a queen. King and a queen in Jordan, they are amazing. So something to be proud of is to be part of this framework. Also, Jordan has a lot of history. We have one of the 7 world wonders. It's called Petra. It's a city that was carved from 3,000 years before Christ. Right now, it's one of the most important historical sites in the world. We have the lowest point on earth, like the Dead Sea. A lot of movies were filmed in Jordan, like Aladdin, The Martian, We have very interesting topology in Jordan. And I think Jordan is a country with not so much resources, but because of the good planning and the well-being of people, we can be in a position where we are overall a really nice country to live at, a really nice culture. People are respectful towards each other. We don't have a lot of problems that you can see on the West. So I think there are a lot of things to be proud of.
I think Japanese people know Arab people, but maybe they can't distinguish Arabic countries. So what is the feature of Jordan?
There are many Arabic countries, so in each area we have different dialect. For example, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, Palestine, that's called Levant area, and we have a very certain dialect. And also the characteristics are more similar. The type of trading we do, the type of resources, the food is very similar, and also like physical features are more similar. Then you have Gulf countries, for example, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, and so on. They're probably more known for having oil reserves. The dialect is a bit different. The food is a bit different. Even the traditional dress or the traditional clothes you wear in Jordan is different than the Gulf area. And then you have in Africa, in Northern Africa, for example, countries like Egypt, Morocco, Algeria, and the rest. So whole different culture and history.
What countries have you ever visited?
So I visited maybe 16 countries. I'll try to remember. I visited USA, Czech Republic, Ukraine, Germany, Netherlands. I lived in Saudi Arabia for my childhood, almost 12 years. Jordan, Palestine, Thailand, Japan, of course, China, Hong Kong, Malaysia, and France. Yeah, I think these are like what I can remember on the top of my head.
What is the best thing of Japan comparing those countries?
So the first time I came to Japan, I thought Tokyo is the most interesting city. Going on the streets, seeing the beauty of architecture, the parks, the liveliness of the streets, the festivals, so many activities to do. The city is clean, the food is really good. I felt like the most exciting city that I have been to is Tokyo, compared to a lot of other places that I've been to. So for example, in Europe, most things close by 8 p.m., especially in smaller cities. All the parks are closed, the restaurants are not up, it's really hard to find food at night. Here, especially in Tokyo, it's a 24-hour city. Businesses stay until around the last train, which is 12. Convenience stores are everywhere. I think activities also here, I do a lot of things that are harder to do elsewhere. For example, here it's very easy to play any sport you can think of, very easy to do snow sports, very easy to practice dancing, while in other countries can be more limited than Tokyo.
Can you tell us your overall impression in Japan, but your own language?
باليابان بتحس انه في كتير حضارة وكتير شغلات ممكن تكون مختلفة عن الموجودة بالأردن، بس بنفس الوقت بتكون كتير قريبة علينا. عندهم تحضر بطريقة رهيبة، كل إشي عندهم نظيف، كل إشي عندهم على أعلى مستوى، وبرضه مكان كتير حلو الواحد يعيش فيه ويشوف حضارات مختلفة وأماكن جديدة.
شكراً.
عفواً.
Thank you for cooperation.
Thank you so much.